Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate ringsidenews.com. Got your questions here from twitter.com/AaronRift. So let's get started with the first one, which comes from Austin Lawson. Hey, I'm hearing John Cena will be out until December. Now, will Cena drop the US title against Dolph Ziggler at Hell in the Cell? I think that would be a logical decision by WWE. If John Cena is going to lose the US title soon, and one would think if he's going to be taking some time off, at least 2 months, he definitely should be losing the US title. Makes sense to have him lose it at Hell in the Cell, and I think based off of what's been going on with Dolph Ziggler and John Cena on Raw, and also the Total Diva storyline, that seems to be the best way to go. Have Dolph Ziggler and John Cena play off of the Total Divas storyline and do that match at Hell in a Cell and have Ziggler win, and you elevate Dolph Ziggler and give him something significant with the US title. I would definitely go in that direction, and that does seem to be the direction based off of Raw with Ziggler's interaction with Cena and the fact that we just had the finale of Total Divas. I would definitely go with that. Alright, this one comes from Jared J. Smith. In your opinion, who would you say was the last great US and IC champion in WWE? Well, US champion, John Cena. Whether people like it or not, John Cena has elevated the title. John Cena's been doing the open challenges. He's been having matches with guys like Kevin Owens and Cesaro and Rusev. John Cena has made the US title relevant again. No question about it. As far as the last great IC champion goes, I would have said Daniel Bryan if he actually had the opportunity to defend the title, but of course he got hurt. Looking back at recent years, I think I would go with Dolph Ziggler. He's been the IC champion on several occasions, and he's had fairly good matches. Hasn't really been in a high-profile environment like John Cena with the IC title, but maybe if he beats John Cena at Hell in the Cell, Dolph Ziggler can continue to make the US title important, and Dolph Ziggler will become a bigger star from beating John Cena and becoming US champion, and the US champion just won't go back to being a mid-card position in the company. Alright, this one comes from Larry Arrowwood. Please answer in video, what is your opinion on the Rock versus Goldberg match from Backlash 2003? Very disappointing. When Goldberg came in, it was a dream match. Rock and Goldberg was one of the biggest matches you could do with Goldberg besides doing Goldberg versus Steve Austin. It was a match that fans have debated about for years prior to that. So when Goldberg came in, there was a lot of hype and fans were really excited about that match. But WWE completely screwed it up. They managed to make Goldberg so uncool. Everything that people loved about Goldberg, WWE tried to turn him into something else. They wanted to WWE-ize him. They wanted to mold him into their own vision of what a sports entertainer should be. They had Goldust putting the wig on Goldberg to try to give Goldberg dimensions as a character. And then they did that Rock concert angle where Goldberg looked like a complete goof. You had The Rock doing all these insults, and there's no way Goldberg can match The Rock on the mic. So instead of hiding Goldberg's weaknesses, you're exposing them. Goldberg got exposed, and The Rock was insulting him, calling him Whisker Biscuit. I mean, who's going to cheer this guy Goldberg? I mean, The Rock is just so much cooler than him, and The Rock's supposed to be the heel here. And in that Rock concert segment, they had Goldberg outsmarted by The Rock not once but twice. You had Goldberg chasing Rock out of the building, and he tried to get into the car to chase The Rock, and the car wouldn't start. It was just a complete disaster. And then you had that whole thing with Gilbert. I mean, the Rock just completely made Goldberg look like a fool. And, you know, The Rock's just being The Rock, but they should have scripted it differently. Goldberg should not have been exposed like that. And by the time you got to the Backlash match, the fans were cheering for The Rock and booing Goldberg. And then they tried to work a longer match. The thing about Goldberg is, in WCW, fans like to see Goldberg just come out and destroy people and work short matches. Goldberg got over doing 2-3 minute squash matches. Now, I know you want to have a competitive match with two big stars, but in my opinion, Goldberg just sold too much for The Rock, and you know, they were trying to make Goldberg like a WWE main event superstar rather than just let him be Goldberg, let him go out there and destroy people. Did not feel that WWE delivered what they should have with The Rock and Goldberg. Alright, this one comes from Devin. If the Attitude Era was happening now, do you think it would have the same effect or maybe more? No, because the world has changed. In the 1990s, you could get away with a lot of stuff. You had Beavis and Butthead, you had South Park. The culture was different. It wasn't as politically correct. And I think because of that, you could push the envelope. You could do angles that were controversial. You could do racial storylines. No way they would be able to get away with that stuff in 2015. The world has just changed and everything is very politically correct. And also, during the early part of the Attitude Era, WWE was still a private company. And once they became public, they did change a little bit, but they still did some controversial stuff. But once they went PG, you know, that was a big change. And now WWE is just very politically correct and they're careful about what they do. There's no way... I just don't think the Attitude Era would work in today's society with the way things are, and especially with WWE as a public company. And, you know, it's all about the sponsors and keeping them happy. It's just a different world. Alright, this one comes from Bill Clark. What if Bobby Lashley never got released from WWE? Could you see him coming back, and what would you want to see from him? I think that Bobby Lashley was not the answer to WWE needing a new main eventer. They tried with him. They gave him the big push at WrestleMania. They did the angle with him and Vince for the ECW title. And people just were not catching on to Bobby Lashley. He just wasn't getting to where he needed to be in WWE. And I think that if he had stayed with the company, he would eventually had faded out. He would have probably been somewhat of a big star, but their attempt to make him like the new Batista or the new Brock Lesnar, that was not working. And I don't think it would have worked if he had stayed with the company. And would I want to see him back? I mean, he's doing all right in TNA, and maybe he would do fine in WWE. You know, I would not mind seeing him back. I think that he's a good performer. He's not a great performer, in my opinion. He's not a great promo. He's a good wrestler when he's in there with the right person. So I think he would do okay in WWE, but I think they got a loaded roster as it is, and I don't think that there's a need to bring him back. They already have Brock Lesnar, who plays the role that they wanted for Bobby Lashley, you know, better than anybody. You know, Brock is a monster, he's a beast, and you know, they already have that role filled in WWE, so there's really no need for Bobby Lashley. All right, this one comes from Rigger. Well, Aaron, instead of Flair having that thing with Miz, how do you think it would have went if he managed a heel Ziggler? Definitely better. There was a huge mismatch between The Rock, or excuse me, The Miz. The Miz wishes he was The Rock. There was just a big mismatch between The Miz and Ric Flair. The Miz trying to do the figure four and all that stuff just didn't work. I think Dolph Ziggler would have been a much better fit as the guy that Ric Flair was mentoring. That could have worked a lot better, but they never went in that direction. It was rumored that they were going to do that, but they never did. You know, the thing with Miz didn't work. I think Ziggler would have been a lot better. Alright, this one comes from Eric. Do you think WWE will make a Balor Club? And if so, will it live up to the Bullet Club and such? I don't know. I really don't think they should. I know that WWE feels that if it's in Japan, they can do it. They can get away with copying it in the United States, but I really don't. I really don't feel that they should go there. I mean, I think enough fans know that it's a knockoff, and I just think they shouldn't do it. And you know, Vince's attitude is if he didn't create it, he's not going to copy it. I mean, sometimes he's a hypocrite and he does things anyways that somebody else did. But you know, even though they're in Japan, I don't think WWE should just copy other ideas and gimmicks. Just come up with their own thing. They could probably come up with something good for Balor. You know, what they're doing with him now is fine. You know, I think trying to create something from what he was doing in Japan, you know, I don't think you need to go that far. Alright, got this question here from Joshua. Please respond in video. What do you think of the Vaudevillains gimmick, and will it translate on the main roster? Or do you think the gimmick will translate to the main roster? I I think that it's a fun gimmick for the undercard in NXT. I don't think it would work on the main roster. And you have to keep in mind that things that fans react to on NXT when you're there at Full Sail University, that doesn't guarantee it's going to work on the main roster. And some of these things are so silly and goofy that, you know, a small portion of the audience is going to enjoy it, but most casual fans are going to be confused. You know, sometimes you do something and it works with a certain audience, and with a hardcore fan base, they'll tend to react to things that are a little bit more out there. And the Vaudevillains, it's not really, I don't feel it's a mainstream friendly routine. You know, maybe it would be entertaining on the main roster in the opening match for a little bit, but I just don't see it being something that would have any kind of long-term success on the big stage, and that's just my opinion on it. Alright, this one comes from The Stooge Abides. Thoughts on Vader, and do you think WWE misused him? He was such a monster in Japan and WCW. Is he Hall of Fame worthy to you? I say yes. I definitely feel he's Hall of Fame worthy, and I do feel WWE could have done more with him. I think Vader could have had a run as the heel world champion. He was very successful in WCW, but I think once again it's Vince McMahon's idea that he did not want a, quote, WCW, end quote, guy going over his WWE talent. And at the end of the day, when you finally had Vader versus Shawn Michaels, the WWE guy had to prevail over the WCW guy. You know, that's just the pattern we've seen from Vince and WWE over the years. I think Vader should have won at SummerSlam. I think that the timing was right. Vader had a lot of momentum as a heel. They did such a great job with him right from when he came in, when he took out Gorilla Monsoon, and he beat Razor Ramon. He beat Shawn Michaels a month before the pay-per-view. And he had a ton of momentum. He did that big angle where he took out Yokozuna. They did a tremendous job, and I think that Vader could have been champion for a couple of months, and then Shawn Michaels could have chased him, and maybe eventually they could have done something with Vader and Shawn Michaels in San Antonio at the Royal Rumble and had Shawn win the title back at that point and just skip the whole Sid thing. You know, I think that would have been a stronger storyline, but, you know, they decided not to go with Vader as champion, and he never really was the same after that. Alright, that'll wrap it up for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it with a friend. Tell a friend about No DQ&A video. Anybody you know who watches wrestling, have them check out the videos. YouTube.com/NoDQCAW, and I will see you guys next time for more No DQ&A video.